Welcome to the Football Show, sponsored by Indigo Communications. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Allan Ruff and Tam McManus are with me, and our special guest is Cammy Bell, the former Rangers goalkeeper. I could go through a few other clubs that he's played for, but it's only an hour show and we don't really want to spend that much time on it, to be honest. He's right up there with you. I'm just looking at it. Anyway, great to have you with us, Cammy. Two goalkeepers, and we've got lots to talk about with Cammy. And I'm sure Ruffy will want to throw his tuppence worth in as well on the goalkeeping union, but we'll get their thoughts shortly. We're going to be talking VAR because Ian Maxwell has been speaking today. We'll hear from the SFA Chief Executive on that. Stephen Robinson's obviously thrown his hand into it all. He's certainly not happy with the handball rule. We'll get Cammy's thoughts on Michael Beale as well. He's the new Rangers manager who's been talking to Sky Sports over the last 24 hours. We'll discuss some of the points that he's highlighted, and of course World Cup fever, England not too far away from our thoughts after last night. It's PLZ Soccer. Hit the YouTube subscribe button if you can. It's of course uncensored, unbiased and unmatched, and it's absolutely free to watch. And thank you to the thousands and thousands of people who have been joining us, hitting the subscribe button, downloading the app and enjoying all our news coverage too. So without hanging on too long, we've got a couple of great competitions. One with Fandex has been proving very popular. It's quite simply a great game to play. It's absolutely free to play, and if you know a bit about stocks and shares, if you invest in a country in this World Cup, you might win yourself some cash prizes. Here's how you can enter.
Come and join PLZ Soccer on Fandex for our FIFA World Cup 2022 stock exchange game. It's absolutely free to play and you have the chance to win cash prizes. You can buy shares in your favourite team and watch their stock price increase or decrease based on their real-life World Cup performances against the expected points tally set by Fandex. You can buy and sell as many teams as you like, as often as you like, with winners being announced after every round. The PLZ Soccer family are waiting for you on Fandex. Head to plzsoccer.com and click on Fandex World Cup 2022.
Yeah, good luck with that. Thanks to so many of you who are joining us on our feed as well. Thanks to Bob, Thomas, Lee, Paul, Martin, to name but a few of them. And also Brian says, Peter, when I woke up this morning I switched on the TV. Have I missed something? Did England win the World Cup? No, Brian, that's tomorrow's broadcast from England. But we'll discuss England and how they are. You can give us your thoughts on it as well. We've got Cammy here with us. Cammy, it's a good career. You're now in the mid-30s. Do you miss the football? Do you wish you'd stayed in coaching or at least maybe tried, as some goalies do, play till their late 30s?
No, again, it was one of them decisions I had to make. I was picking up a lot of injuries which I had throughout my career. Major surgery when you're younger catches up on you, so it was one of them decisions I had to make, that continuously getting injured, getting frustrated when you get injured as well, that I was at an age that I needed to make a decision for my sort of own health going forward.
What was the main injury then?
My knee. I've had 5 operations on the same knee, so it was had 2 cruciates when I was 18 and 20, so that played a big part in where my knee went towards the end of my career. So it was kind of a decision that was forced upon me, but listen, I had some great times, so I can't complain too much.
I was just about to say, I mean, that's one of the things that Martin Boyle, he reckons he had a cruciate problem for about 7 years and didn't notice it.
Yeah, it's actually, I had something similar when I was in Colorado. I went to get my meniscus. I tore my meniscus and I went in to get an operation just to tidy it up, and they found a cyst on my cruciate.
Wow.
And the doctor says, listen, we're not going to touch it. He says, if we touch it, you're out for 6 months. So it's probably still in there now, but he says it's no trouble yet, it's no hassle, so they just tidied my meniscus. So it's amazing, some doctors, when they go in and look and for an injury, maybe find something else.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Martin, they found that he's got a problem with his cruciate, and they thought they were going to be out for 3 weeks, as Lee Johnson said today, so it was a huge blow for him.
Yeah, real blow. Do you think, Cammy, do you wonder, you get a big move to Rangers, do you wonder if you didn't have that problem, do you think you would have had the chance to go through a greater learning curve to become a better goalkeeper?
Listen, your career is what it is, and listen, I was delighted with going to every club that I went, loads of experiences, managed to play in a lot of big games in front of a lot of big crowds, so I can't look back at it in too much disharmony. And the things you take from your career is obviously the small trophies that you win. I won one major trophy at Kilmarnock in the League Cup, so they're big memories when you win them. Obviously getting a national cap as well was huge for me, but listen, you always think, could I have done better, but your career is what it is.
Do you know, it's refreshing, Tam, for you and I to have a goalkeeper who looks at the glass that's half full, and he's optimistic even though he's had setbacks, whereas some people just have, for 10 years have moaned about not getting the move to Liverpool, the Man City one, the people that held him back, had to stay with
defenders that cost them big moves.
Exactly.
the wall that ducked with the free kick. Exactly. So many excuses.
It's always somebody else's fault. Look at Cammy, 2 cruciate injuries, and he's
up, Larry. What
do you want to say about that, by the way?
No, I've never had an injury in 20 years. All the centre halves got injuries, I never got anything.
Yeah, the problem with you, Cammy, is did you come for cross balls?
No, I didn't either.
Brilliant. It's amazing the way you look at it. The Kelly game, is it Turnu? I remember in Turnu. I mean that's something that must stay with you forever, because you weren't favourites going into it.
No, listen, I think we played Ayr United in the semi-final, and there was more fans turned up to the semi-final than there was the final, because we were playing Celtic, who had such a strong team at that point. We were real underdogs. I think we're sitting 7th or 8th in the league, doing okay. But yeah, it was an amazing day. And listen, everything did go our way with a huge amount of luck. Thankfully, I had probably the best game of my career at the right time, because they're the times you want to have it as a goalkeeper, big moments when people are watching. And ultimately, that probably made my career go a little bit further and faster at that moment in time. But yeah, there was some good players in our team at that time as well. Obviously, Van Tornhout, who again had played about 6 games, but an absolute Kelly hero. But yeah, with some real good players in our team. Dean Shields was vital to our team at that point as well, and Lee Johnson, who's the Hibs manager at the moment, played in that game. He put the cross in for the goal.
Wow! And
I was at United as well when they beat us in the semi-final.
Were you playing?
Yeah, I wasn't playing, but I was on the stand.
That's a shock. That's a shock. Why would you ask him? Was he playing?
I was just about to go to. I went to America about a week later, so I was bummed. Aye, in a huff. But I remember the game. Dean Shields scored in extra time.
Yeah.
There was some crowd there that day. It's a huge game. United v Kilmarnock semi-final, a massive tournament.
Yeah.
And Kilmarnock deserved to win. They were the better team, and I wasn't surprised that they turned Celtic over. They Kilmarnock, a decent team. Yeah,
and as I mentioned in the preview as well, your lives. This is a great parallel, Ruffy, because Cammy is a League Cup winner. You won the League Cup in '71, and of course, as I mentioned, there's 54 caps between you. I mean, it's almost. I mean, I think Allan Ruff, I think Cammy Bell,
and Partick Thistle goalkeepers.
And Partick Thistle, yeah. But I tell you that's the amazing. How many times you play for Thistle?
I can't remember, not that many to be honest. I was only there for a kind of short period.
I had it down as 12.
I fell out with the manager, Gary Caldwell, when he came in, so me and him had a few choice words with each other, but again, that's what happens in football. And then I actually think I went on loan to St Johnstone from there.
Yeah, so 12 times played for Thistle. How many did you play?
645.
Did you fall out with anybody?
I fell out with wee Bertie on numerous occasions.
You're falling out with Gary Caldwell. Who'd have thought, eh?
I know I'm good pals with Gary, but I can imagine him being a manager.
Nah, he's a good lad. Anyway, the League Cup's absolutely fantastic. Although, listen, there's not many people can actually turn around and say that they played for Rangers. And you won a cup. Did you win the League One title and the Championship?
Yeah, we won the League One and Championship. I think we also won the Challenge Cup or whatever it was called at that moment in time. And I won that with Dundee United. So there's a few trophies I'd won in my career. So yeah, it was great memories. And going to Rangers, I was a Rangers fan as a kid. So getting to play for the club that you supported, playing front, even though it was lower league, I was still getting 45,000 every single game. It was still a massive, massive club, and to be part of the journey was great as well. Because listen, some people I'll look back and say, "Oh, you played with Rangers at the lower leagues," but they needed these players to get them to where they are at the moment.
Absolutely. I don't know how you feel about this, Cammy. I always felt when I was going to press conferences with Ali, I always felt as if there was very rarely a press conference where he ever had a chance to talk about the team or good displays, because he was always, in my mind, diffusing bombs of what was going on behind him. I felt sorry for him at that time, even though the expectation was, well, it's Rangers, you're in the lower league, you're meant to win. So there was never, did you get a sense there was never really a day where you get the full compliment for what you were doing?
Yeah, again, it was so difficult. Expectations, guys banding about wages and stuff of what you're on compared to part-time players, but it's not as easy as that. You need to go to these stadiums, Stranraer on a Tuesday night when it's lashing down with rain and the pitch is boggy. It's a difficult place to go. They've got absolutely nothing to lose. And these guys always up their game, so it was really difficult. But again, going back to the behind the scenes stuff, at that time it was absolutely crazy. I think we had about 5 chief executives in the space of 2 years. Ownership was changing. There was people in behind the scenes that were again getting questioned where money and stuff was going, so there was loads of questions. I remember the front door getting stormed by the fans at one point. We just finished a game, the front door was getting stormed by the fans because they weren't happy with the regime that was up the stairs, and it was nothing to do with the playing sort of side of things, it was more to do with boardroom level.
Just shows you, doesn't it? I mean, honestly, when you think
it was a crazy time back then.
It was mayhem. That's why I was curious to see.
There was so many people coming in and trying to line their own pockets, at Rangers' expense.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And fortunately, Cammy played a big part in getting them back to the Premier League. But now they're in a stable footing. But he's right. Those players deserve credit for getting them through into the Championship, into the Premier League, for Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to get there, Ruff. You need to play in those games. Whether everybody thinks, it's Rangers and you should be winning them anyway, you still got to go and try and do it. I remember going up to Brecon with a big hedge, and honestly, you thought it was a major cup tie. They were everywhere.
Yep.
But the thing about it as well, it's okay, it's easy saying, the players don't get affected by what's going on upstairs, but eventually you do. Eventually you start listening to stories and you go, I don't remember that happening, or don't remember him saying that, or whatever. And, you've got all that supporters particularly, getting into it as well. It's very disruptive in trying to concentrate, and actually, the size of Rangers as well. The pressure that's on you to win every game, doesn't matter what league you're in. You've got to come up with the goods.
Yeah, and with that in mind, here's the question: did you enjoy it? I mean, if it's a club you supported as a boy, were you able to think, great times, family come up and see you, you're playing?
Oh, I loved it, absolutely loved it. And listen, there was good times and there was bad times, and I experienced the sort of real bad times. We'll touch on the Motherwell game where he made a huge mistake and you get absolutely crucified for it. But that's part of the journey of your career. You need to learn from these things, being able to deal with that. It was a real difficult week for me. I think it happened on the Sunday and I was getting married on the Friday, and to try and recover mentally from such a big mistake where I was again feeling the full blame for that game, and taking all the criticism, it was difficult to turn around. But then you reflect on it, and I think it makes you a better person, makes you a stronger person as well for it.
Yeah, what can you talk us through what happened, how you deal with it when you're in the moment? We've had it from another level completely when, you're talking about the flack you got, which is nothing compared to when you're a boy and your dreams of Scotland doing well at a World Cup, and then they're absolutely shattered by a group of players who are just arguing over money, and then they get beat by Peru and draw with Iran. I mean, and then the whole country, when he was coming off the plane, they just wanted...
Even more embarrassing.
Yeah. So Cammy objects. This boy's had an entire nation waiting at an airport to kill him.
I had an even worse one. I had one against Scotland versus Austria, and the boy played a through ball, and Ian Monroe came running out to the edge of the 18-yard box, and I came out and I said, "Leave it, Ian." And right at the last moment, he sort of ducked, just as it got to me, and it hit me in the shoulder, and it fell to, I think it was Hans Krankel or somebody, and he put it in the back of the net. And the whole back pages was all me. Inside back pages was all me, how my family were going to... It was incredible. But goalkeepers are a different breed for everybody else. They have to deal with more than outfield players.
That day must have felt as if you were a Partick Thistle director, eh?
Sorry, I can't talk about that.
Brilliant. You're getting battered now, by the way.
No comment.
That's brilliant, Ruffy. Bro, you can't please everybody.
True.
I mean, on that day, what was... I was at the game, both games, and 6-1 over 2 legs is just it was just not on. It was the one at Fir Park was mental.
Yeah, listen, we lost it in the first game, and there's no getting away from that. When you lose at Ibrox, I think the way we lost, the manner of the goals we lost at Ibrox as well, we were always chasing our tail. I felt as if we'd run out of steam that season. So much went on, managerial changes. I mean, Ali obviously left, and then Kenny McDowell took over, who didn't want to be in charge of the team. And that's really difficult when you've got a manager there that doesn't really want to take the team, but's been forced to. And then obviously Stuart McCall came in at the last minute to then try and get us over the line. So huge changes, boardroom changes, and it's not an excuse, but I just felt as if we'd ran out of steam, probably mentally and physically at that point. But yeah, it was a real difficult moment for me to deal with on that day.
What was your recollection of the mistake?
Again, when it's deflected, I think it was Marius actually, who's passed away sadly, who deflected off his knee and went up in the air. And I think what had actually happened that time, I was carrying an injury. I actually got an operation after the game, not an excuse again, but I was moving back, and I think I went to push off. I've kind of not pushed off properly, and then realised I'm stretching, went to punch it and completely mispunched it. It was just a major mistake. I'm not going to shy away. It wasn't a small mistake, it was a big mistake. But again, it was something that obviously I didn't mean to do at the time. And it killed the tie kind of for us, but I don't think we had enough at that point anyways to go on. What
was going through your mind, Cammy? What goes through your mind? Because lots of us would never be able to grasp. I mean, we joke with Ruffy over things like, a free kick from, let's be honest about it, Kubias was a genius. He was a brilliant player for Peru. But if you make a mistake, what was going through your head in that game because the enormity of it?
Listen, at the time it was disappointing, hard to take, because you know how much that's going to affect the result probably at that moment in time. But again, I didn't dwell on it too much during the game. It was more after the game when you sit down and reflect that, listen, that mistake's huge, and the criticism that starts to come your way, you know it's going to come your way, so you try and prepare yourself. But it's really, really difficult. It's hard to take when, especially with social media nowadays, that everyone can kind of get to you. But as I said, it's a learning curve, and in your career you have these ups and you have these downs, and I just always tried to never get too down. It did get me down, don't get me wrong, for a couple of days I was really, really down. But I managed to pick myself up, and I knew I still had a point to prove in my career. And obviously it was great after that, because obviously after that I struggled, I got an injury. The next season I didn't play as much and I left Rangers, but I went to Dundee United, and it was great to get the moment of saving 3 penalties in one game. That was a good moment for me, that kind of, you've seen the bad moments and the bad press you get with a huge mistake, but then the great press you get with making such a historical moment, really. Yeah,
and the big question that Ruffy, Tam and myself are absolutely itching to ask you is, did you still manage to get up for your wedding?
I did, but I think I would have been happier if we'd managed to get promoted.
Don't talk us through it, it's fine. We're happy with your answer. Listen, just on that, he's never saved 3 penalties in one day. Saved 3.
Never saved one.
You've never dived the right way in any of them.
No, I got Hibs versus Rangers, the 2-legged thing that took us to the final. I think I saved a penalty that night. I never saved more than one, One's enough.
Did you make up your decision? Did you make your decision right away, or were you looking?
The same player? Who was it?
No, it was all 3. It was Gavin Riley, Nicky Clark, and Paul McMillan were the 3 players for Dunfermline.
And when they were going to take them, just give me an insight into this, because he says he just give Cammy your insight into your.
Well, obviously things have moved on in like 40 years, but I mean my theory was obviously, when we played them, we hadn't dealt with many penalties, so you couldn't have a mindset, or he puts it to the left. Because the thing about that theory is as well, if I know he puts all his penalties to the right, he's going to be saying to himself, he knows I put everything to the right. It's a psychological thing. There's no guarantee. I don't think a player puts it to the same corner all the time. So my theory was, I'm just going to dive the same way 5 times.
Right.
And at some stage,
you might get one.
One of them are going to go, he's not going to go there this time.
Right. What was your theory?
I actually studied run-ups. I think you can tell a lot by a run-up. I really do. I think even now when I watch games on the TV, I think a run-up tells you a side that, listen, some run-ups are difficult to tell, but some run-ups for me tell you absolutely what side he's going to. Listen, if he gets it right in the corner with so much pace, you're not going to get to it anyways, but I really do think run-ups, you can analyse it and tell where they're going.
Did you dive before he hit it?
Yes.
There you go.
I know. I'm happy with that. I always thought lefties tend to go across their hips and go that way. Is that fair?
Yeah, again, I think it depends on his run-up.
Run-up,
I think if he's going, shaping up the way that he can't then put it across himself, then it becomes obviously difficult. But I genuinely think you can tell a lot by running.
What happens if the World Cup where they come up and do the wee
dance?
Yeah, that's a pain in the back end, isn't it? I know. What did you do, Tom?
Well, I think I took about 8 or 9 in my career, and I missed 2, and I tried to place it with a side foot, and I think that's an easier one for the goalkeeper. And the rest of them, I either went across my body and whipped it to the keeper's right, or I blasted down the middle.
I was going to say, Tam, see the one, the biggest pressure penalty. If you're under a pressure penalty, head down the middle.
Keeper's never going to stand, is he?
No, very rarely.
And the other thing as well, and again, the goalkeeping situation has moved on. Cammy and myself aren't particularly big.
Right.
These goalkeepers are 6'5" now.
Massive.
They're covering their. If they dive, they're covering that whole goal.
Well, I think the most intimidating guy has to be Courtois.
I was about to say him.
When I see him in the goal, I'm thinking this is not looking good.
Yeah.
You know, he's massive. What about a quiz question? We might as well throw it in because we always like to test your knowledge. How many goals has Lionel Messi scored in 167 games for Argentina?
112.
112, Ruffy.
I don't know, I've not seen it, I'm just saying.
I've not seen it. He hasn't seen it. I deliberately held it up.
I'm going to go 134.
134 in 167 games for Argentina.
Yeah.
Okay, Cammy?
97.
97. Okay, you can give us your thoughts on that. It's good to have Cammy Bell with us. We are talking football. We're going to talk England and the World Cup shortly, but let's get to Rangers. Here's Michael Beale's quotes from that interview on Sky yesterday. This is what he had to say regarding his return to Rangers. Here the expectation is huge. It's not like anywhere else I've experienced before, but I've experienced it for 3.5 years, so I know that it's a privilege. I was never anyone's friend. I was always a bit of a disciplinarian out on the training pitch. I was the moaner of the previous staff, and that was my job, to take training and to drive standards. I got offered the chance to work with the Europa League finalists, and that is a huge privilege and sense of pride coming back. The team is not as broken as people think. So, he's also said that he thinks there's a good record from the players who have played there. It's a team of winners in his mind. What do you make of him, Cammy?
Yeah, listen, he's saying all the right things. He needs to tell the players that are there at the moment that's at his disposal, that they're good enough to be at Rangers. But again, long term, looking into the January window, there needs to be huge investment. I'm sure Michael Beale knows that. I think it is a big risk from Rangers taking him on as manager. He's got obviously a short managerial career at the moment, off the back of not great results at QPR, but I don't think that makes a huge difference. But just the fact that he's not been in charge of a club, he's generally been on the training ground most of the time. Will he be able to do that as a manager? He'll have to navigate that, because normally that's assistant manager's role, and the manager's sort of dealing with press, dealing with boardroom level stuff, players, personnel's, keeping everyone happy. So there's a lot to a manager's role that he's maybe not used to. So it is a risk, but it's exciting for Rangers fans, because I think it's one of the guys that they kind of wanted to come in.
Yeah, I think the majority of them certainly did. We've been constantly mentioning, though, Tom, that the biggest problem is, picking up on what Cammy said, is the budget and the players that he's going to try and keep and sell.
I don't think he would have come in if he wasn't getting a decent budget. I think that would have been the first question I would ask as a manager if I'm leaving QPR, to come to Rangers. Obviously Rangers are a much bigger club, but he's going to ask, how much money have I got to spend in this window and at the end of the season? What's my budget? And he's obviously happy with what he's getting offered, or he wouldn't be at Rangers. So I think that they have to spend money. I think it's a team, a squad that needs surgery. It needs fresh legs. It needs pace. It needs energy. There's a lot of players there getting older, been there for a number of years. So I think that he's got to try and get younger players into there. Now, whether that's Alex Lowry's and guys like that, and Charlie McCann's, or it's going and getting players elsewhere, maybe down in England, I don't know, but I think he needs energy in the team. I think that's the big thing that I've noticed this season about Rangers. They've not got a lot of energy. Under Gerrard, they were always up and pressing teams and loads of energy in European games as well. They don't look as if they've got it this year. I don't know if that's a confidence thing or whatever, but they don't seem to have that this season.
Yeah, you mentioned there Charlie McCann, Adam Devine, Zach Lovelace, and obviously Alec Lowry. They'll all be training. Well, the three that I mentioned there are all training with the first team now. That's the first thing he's done. We've mentioned that Alec Lowry has been impressive. Tam has worked with him, knows his strengths and qualities. So is it a case, Ruffy, in your mind that he's somehow got to give them an incentive of there's a pathway to the first team, while realising that with Rangers it has to be quick fix stuff?
Yeah, well, first of all, he needs to start winning games. He starts winning games and hope Celtic do slip up with a draw here or there and leading up to the big game at Ibrox. You know, I think it's a bit of a gamble for him to throw these young boys in, you know, initially, because he's got to hit the ground running, he's got to start winning games, as I said. But the Lowry boy, he's got quality, there's no doubt about that. And we've got one as well, we've got Cole McKinnon at Partick Thistle. You know, I know he's maybe couple of steps under Lowry, but he's certainly one for the future as well. So I wouldn't expect them to be throwing them in at the deep end. You know, I don't. Tam's touched on it. You know, where will he break into for players? Where will it be England? Will it be people he's seen? Would he go for somebody like Lyndon Dykes? You know, who he's worked with down there. You know, I don't know how much he would cost, but certainly, I think they need a fresh injection of quality players, at least 2 or 3. Because if you get Golson back, but the big two are the ones everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen. Yeah,
were you surprised, Cammy, that they gave Allan McGregor another year when it looked as if he was waving goodbye to everyone at the Scottish Cup final?
I wasn't surprised. I think that was Allan's decision. I was surprised that he didn't start the season.
Yeah.
Very surprised. I mean, what changed from him finishing the season as number 1 to the start of the season, I don't know, because I mean, you can't train that badly. I know Allan won't train that badly either. Or play that badly in pre-season to make that decision. I think that was one that Gio got wrong, and I think it put you still on the back foot straight away. I think if he'd played Allan and Allan wasn't performing, that was then the time to slip John McLaughlin in. But I wasn't surprised, because for me, John McLaughlin isn't the replacement for Rangers as a number 1. I think he's a very good goalkeeper, he's a very good number 2. And probably could play as a number 1 at many clubs, but I just don't know if he's got the quality to be a Rangers number 1. I seen it at Celtic. They obviously went and bought Barkas, and it didn't work out for them there. That's again a foreign goalie coming over to a different culture and country, and it didn't work out for them there. They then went out and got a number 1 in Joe Hart, who's got experience, played in big games, played at a big club. And when Allan leaves, I think Rangers need to do the same model. Get a goalkeeper who's played in big games and a club that's got huge expectations.
Yeah, and that's the key, is trying to replace Allan McGregor as well is going to be huge.
It's going to be massive. I totally agree there. I think they've got to go and get somebody that's used to the pressure, you know, and used to making a mistake and getting slaughtered, because at Celtic and Rangers, you maybe not do a lot, but there might be 1 or 2 instances you've got to step up to the plate and make a save. And if you don't make the save, you know, if you make a mistake, you're going to get slaughtered. So you've got to have the mental capacity to deal with that as well. So I think it's going to be a big hole, because he's been for me, he's Rangers' best ever goalkeeper. I know you can argue Gorham as well, but I think he'll leave a big hole at Rangers, because I think he's been a top goalkeeper for 20 years.
Yeah, the manager's got to steady the ship, as Ruffy says, win games. We think the league's over, because what you're banking on if you're a Rangers fan is an automatic kick from the new manager, a relentless push, and Celtic to collapse.
All Rangers can do now is put pressure on Celtic. That's all they can do, is ask the questions. Can Celtic handle the pressure of being in front and being the one that's got to... Again, when you're in front, it's quite difficult to maintain that. You know somebody's chasing you, but Rangers need to put that chase on straight away. As soon as they play Hibs, they need to hit the ground running, put a marker out that they're going to be in good form and continue that. It's going to be difficult. I don't think Rangers can write the season off, because they need to start performing, putting in good performances as well, because the performances have been lacklustre, really poor for 5 or 6 weeks before the break. So they need to start performing, winning games, and put the pressure on Celtic. Ask the question, can they stay that 9 points ahead? It's theirs to lose, but you can ask the question.
Yeah, okay. We're going to ask a question now. It's a simple one, and Kerry has the details. We've teamed up with Grieve Sports and Copa.
PLZ Soccer has teamed up with our friends at Grieve Sports and Copa to offer you the fabulous chance to win one of these World Cup retro shirts if you enter our World Cup hat-trick competition. All you have to do is tell us who you think will win the World Cup, finish top goal scorer, and who will be declared player of the tournament. The person who gets all 3 correct will go into a draw to win one of 6 vouchers to choose their very own Retro World Cup shirt from the Griffiths Sports website. And if you don't get all 3 correct, then don't worry. You can still subscribe to our YouTube channel for a chance to win. To enter, simply submit your answers in the feed below, and if you want to double your chances of winning, then make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. The winner will be announced on the day of the World Cup final. Good luck.
Yeah, well done to Kerry. We'll hear more from our reporter a little later on. She's been out to speak to Stephen Robinson and getting the thoughts of the SFA Chief Executive Ian Maxwell, your old mucker, on the board at Partick Thistle. We'll talk about that. Ian Maxwell will not talk about Partick Thistle board, Ruffy, because obviously we've read the rough injunction, which is all quiet, you know.
I'd like to see that now in this show, Ruffy. Very, very quiet over there.
It's very quiet. That's the quietest I've ever seen you on this show, all because some people can't take a joke. That's what life's all
the sign
about.
down from the Allan Rough Lounge as we speak.
Well, we would if we could.
Chiseling it off.
We would if we could see it, but the lights are out, nobody can see it. Anyway, don't laugh. Don't laugh. They'll be in here. They'll be storming the door outside. Good old Jags fans, brilliant. Anyway, lots to talk about. World Cup definitely on our minds because, quite simply, England. I mean, listen, it was to be expected, Ruffy. I didn't think that Wales were going to put up any great fight on this one. Should we be going into England overdrive now on the performance last night?
Not yet, no. I don't think they've come up against any of the bigger teams. You know, I think we've already seen Spain and Germany. Then you can judge, you know, where the big teams are at this precise moment in time. I don't think England have played anybody yet. Yeah, they've won 2 games and they'll take confidence for that. I think it looks as if it's going to be Senegal in the next game. So, you know, it's not another test for them. But as long as they keep winning, they'll believe that they can go quite far in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be impressed. I think the narrative from that game has to be about Marcus Rashford. I mean, as a person, he's beyond reproach. You know, for me, you know, if he looks back in his career, what he did for, you know, the kids in schools was absolutely amazing. He's had a couple of duff managers at Manchester United and his career looked as if it was heading in another direction. Yeah,
again, it looked as if it was sliding away from him, but he's turned it around, and that's full credit to Marcus Rashford because he's done all these off-field great gestures and changed the world or our country as we see it for the best. And yeah, again, it's great to see him playing with a smile on his face because I think that was the problem. I think he'd maybe lost his love for football a little bit, and again, it's probably down to management of him. Manchester United have been such a mess for a long time. But for him to get his love for football, smile back in his face and playing the way he can play because he's a phenomenal player when he gets going.
Yeah, he's playing with freedom, and I think with Man United he's playing with a lack of confidence because he's getting slaughtered every week. You know, and Bruno Fernandes as well for Portugal looks different class and a good team. You know, it's amazing when you go and put these players in good teams. You know, and it'll be a good structure. You know, they look good players. You know, look quality players, and Rashford again last night. But they're playing at Man United and who've been a poisonous club for about 2 or 3 years, so I know his contract's up. I think his contract's running down, so I don't know if he's just, you know, trying to get his a move, you know, but playing well. But I think he needs to get out of Man United. I'd go somewhere else if I was him. I'd like to see him abroad. I think his pace, you know, and his power abroad I think he'd do really well somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm glad you narrowed it down to 2 or 3 years. I've had them down as a poisonous club for 10 years since David Gill stepped down, to be honest with you. I think from there and Fergie walking out the door, it's been very difficult for any managers to get, you know, a team the way he wants it. But nevertheless, if I'm going to be brutally honest about it again, Wales are not the real test that they're going to have to get past, and I can't see them winning. I still can't see them winning. They can, you know, spin it any way they want, but the 2 centre halves are suspect. The middle to front might be looking great. They've got so many great options from the bench, Cammy, but the 2 centre halves, when they come up against quality, I think they're going to be absolutely ripped up.
Well, that's the thing, they've not came up against top quality yet, and again, there will be huge questions defensively. Knew going into the tournament that was their weak point. They've got so many attacking flair players that they can change if it's not working, as Gareth Southgate's done already. Change them up, Foden's came in, had a really good game, so he'll probably continuously play until, again, he's out of form. But they've got that option going forward. But at the back, there is huge question marks. Even, you look at the Wales game again, you're expecting the goalie to maybe save the free kick if he stays in the right position. There's big moments in that game that if it didn't go their way, it could have been a little bit more sticky, because the first half, they weren't that impressive. The second half, they were a lot better, but it's against a Wales team, no disrespect to them, but aren't going to be one of the best teams in the tournament.
No, absolutely not. It's Senegal next, Ruffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they look as if they're a big, strong side, you know, and they've been, I think they won the African Cup, you know, so they know what it's like to be up there, and they've been to World Cups before. So it'll be a test, you know, I think it'll be quite tight, you know, but again, as Cammy said, the first goal's so crucial in the World Cup. If you get it, a lot of the games have been nothing each right up until 45 minutes. So if you got to nick a goal in the second half of a game, the game opens up, because the other team, obviously, when it gets to the knockout, they've got to come and have a go at you. But you are right, they've got quality all over the place. I just haven't seen them being tested yet.
No. Back line, I've got major worries. I like Kyle Walker, but the other three left of him, Tam, I think are what's going to cost them in the long run. They'll probably get quarter-final. I think they could get past Senegal, and then the whole country goes into madness.
I think it's possibly France in the quarter-finals.
Yeah, the game's a bogey after that.
Yeah, I would fancy France to beat them. I think it would be a good game, but I think France have got more in the forward areas, and I think they're better defensively than England. But you never know in a one-off game. England showed that in the Euros, but yeah, I think they will just come short.
Yeah, we need to get we need to get our act together in the sweep to get our bets that we are putting on here. We're having an absolute mare. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm trying my best.
France -2 is looking not very good at the minute.
I just need a
France played under 15s.
I know, I need a penalty in the Argentina game. Anyway, that's how England fared. USA, in the end, it looked as if it was one of those games that could have been feisty pre the match. It started to get a little bit political.
Yeah, it did, and again, we've had enough politics at this World Cup. I thought we were kind of by it after the first week, and it was quite good. Obviously, everyone agrees with the stance of against Qatar as a country and what they do for human rights and stuff. But again, after the first week, I felt as if we were starting to focus on football, and that's what you want to do. Once you get in a tournament, you want to start to focus on the football. And again, US have looked at a decent outfit when we've seen them play. They've got some good players. Majority of them are kind of playing European football, so they're a decent side, and again, how far they can go is you don't know. You don't think they'll go too far, but they're a good side to watch, actually.
Yeah, I think
Holland on Saturday.
Yeah, I think they'll be pleased how far they've got so far. Are you changing your mind on who you think is going to win the World Cup? Don't forget, you can enter our competition. All you need to do is come up with the winner of the World Cup, the player of the tournament, and the top goal scorer, and you never know. We've got 6 vouchers to give away, so keep your eye on that competition. It's right across all our social media with Grieve Sports and Copa. Here's the group's table after those games, because everybody reaching the end now. Netherlands, Senegal, so Netherlands will indeed play USA, and Senegal against England. Didn't quite work out for Ecuador. That agonising moment when you realise it's slipped away. Ecuador, very much like Scotland in that 1978 World Cup campaign, Ruffy, they get 4 points as well, which a lot of people forget, that you constantly remind us.
Yeah, 78 and 82, it was goal difference that put us out.
Yeah. Okay, England, Group B, here it is. This is how it all finished out. England with 7, USA with 5, and then Iran, and then Wales with that 1 point. But I have to say, if you want a group of fans who inspire you, the build-up to last night's match, Tam, the Welsh fans, you know, some of the things that they were doing, the songs they were singing, it was a hair in the back of your neck, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The great support over there. I looked at the stadium last night and it was red. You know, there was a lot of fans travelled over there, and I think their national anthem's the best. I love their national anthem. Yeah. You know, and Flower of Scotland, I'm a proud Scotsman, but I love the Welsh anthem, and you know, I just thought they maybe had more of a go at England in the first half, where I thought England were maybe there for the taking, but the fans backed them. You seen after the game they sang the national anthem to the fans as well. So listen, their support over there was incredible. First time in a World Cup since 1950 odd, so
Yeah.
it's a long time, and I'm sure all the fans enjoyed themselves regardless of the results.
1958. So that's the World Cup. There are a few games which obviously we will digest tomorrow. Australia against Denmark, Tunisia, France, Poland, Argentina, or Saudi Arabia, Mexico. I think we'll all be watching Poland, Argentina. Is that fair, Ruffy? Is that a fair?
Yeah,
Lewandowski v Messi.
yeah. Well, again, this Polish side, have been there before, but they've got one man up front that can win the game for them, and hopefully, doesn't it?
Just out of curiosity, Ruffy, you can give me advice on this, because obviously you are what we call the master schemer of all time. It's my wife's birthday, and obviously we're going out for a meal
Tonight?
Yeah, but it's booked for early on. Should I get a starter, or just say let's just have a main meal and then back out, for the game? I want to. How do I word it? Because I know you're really sneaky with these things.
If you booked the table, you've got to go.
Yeah,
record it and watch it when you get back.
Oh, you can't do that.
Nah, you need to skip the
Not
start.
in this day and
Yeah,
age.
you can't
Skip the start.
skip the start. Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to leave them in the restaurant herself.
No, I think Cammy's right. Skip the starter and then
main,
get the main and then fire back.
Bill.
It's been a good night.
And then you go back in, there's 12 minutes extra at the end of the game. That's you.
It's been a good night. Don't spoil it. There you are. There's your present. Let's get back. That's it. That's the plan. Okay. Just one little footnote that I want to get your thoughts on, lads, and we've been talking about over the last couple of days. The one worrying aspect of the game was obviously the Connor Roberts. He took the ball full on in that game last night. He didn't come off.
Yep.
And it was a worry because people are now so aware of concussion and the implications even in later life, but certainly in the immediate aftermath of taking a blow to the head, get him off the park. And I thought we made a mistake yet again last night.
Yeah, and again, obviously, there's been a couple of highlighted incidents in the World Cup so far. The scrutiny's there, everyone's watching it, the world's watching to see, and yeah, I would agree they got it wrong last night again, but there's like other people have said it, I've heard it before, I would like to see a substitute, concussion substitution that can come on
For 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes and doesn't put these medical staff and the players under pressure. It allows them to properly get examined and then make the decision from there whether that substitute stays on or whether he comes back off, because I think there's a lot of pressure on these games and a lot of pressure on the staff and the players at this time, and it's huge decision, so why not just allow them to come off the pitch, which takes the heat off it a little bit and probably makes a better decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly for the medical staff. I think the medical staff have to take the decision out of the player's hands, because he clearly wants to play on.
You're never going to come off, especially in the World Cup. I think it was the goalkeeper. Was it Iran goalkeeper?
Yep.
He got rattled in the nose. His nose was, I think he broke his nose, and he was all over the place.
I think he had a fractured skull as well.
And he's always obviously want to play on, and the commentators, I think Jermaine Jennings was speaking about it as well. So you've got to take it out of the players' hands, because if you're never want to come off in a game, particularly in a World Cup, you want to play on, and you've got to say, listen, you've got to come off.
And the other thing the player will be saying as well, if I come off with concussion, that's my tournament finished, because you have to be off. You can't play for 8 or 9, 10 days.
But sometimes
so if it's concussion that's in that report, then the player will be going.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult for the medical staff though, because if you as a player have took a head knock and they know that, you could say the right things, and if you're telling the medical staff the right things, then do you know what I mean? For me, you can say all the right, answer the questions that they do, you do all the checks that they do and you pass it, but you still might have concussion because they've got that 2-minute period to make a decision. So as a player, sometimes you're not always honest with the medical staff because you want to keep playing.
Yeah, absolutely. World Cup final coming up. Messi picks up a slight knock in the head. Listen, we believe you. You'll be fine. Take the penalty, will you?
Doesn't apply to him. He can play on. So I've got money on him to win it. Don't take him off.
There's another old John Lambie one.
Yes.
Centre forward. I can't remember who the centre forward was injured, and Donny McKinnon gets sent on, and Virgil gets sent on, and he come back and he says, "What's the matter?" He says, "Oh, he doesn't know who he is." He says, "Tell him he's Pele, get him up off his ground."
I know I can't remember who the player is. It'll come to me at some point. But anyway, it is a worry. It's certainly something that I think I agree with you, Cammy. 10 minutes off, let them make a better medical decision, and if he's okay, he can come back on. There's lots of other things that are worrying us in Scottish football. Ruffy's bugbear is the handball. Well, today was a very special day because out there at the West of Scotland cricket ground in Partick, 150 years ago this very day, was the first official international friendly between Scotland and England. And our reporter Kerry Pollock went out there in the hunt for the SFA Chief Executive Ian Maxwell.
On the 30th of November 1872, the first official international between Scotland and England took place here at the West of Scotland cricket ground right behind me. A lot has changed since then, with technology having a bigger influence than ever before. VAR has caused some frustrations, and the CEO of the SFA, Ian Maxwell, understands exactly why.
I completely see that, and handball is always the most subjective rule. It's the difficult one to pin down. It's not as simple as if it hits your hand, it's a penalty. There's always a subjective element to that, and individuals are going to make slightly different decisions. We've seen decisions in Qatar that are similar to ones that have been given in Scotland and ones that haven't been given in Scotland, so that just highlights again it's a world football issue, it's not a Scotland specific problem.
For the record, Scotland and England drew 0-0 in the first match, but over the 150 years that have passed, there has been more than a few special games that have taken place between the two teams. England have won 48 and Scotland 41. But which one is your favourite?
Yeah, which one is your favourite, Ruffy? What's your favourite Scotland and England encounter?
1977, 2-1 at Wembley.
John Roberts?
No, it was Big Gordon and
Dalglish?
Kenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was
I
Roberts?
can't remember. Played in 8 of them.
Yeah. He's just a moron, Cammy. Don't let it get to you. But when I think of favourite Scotland-England games, John Robertson scored the penalty. That was 1-0, wasn't it? That was Ali. Was that
John Robertson scored in the penalty, the 1-0 game? Yeah.
Yeah. But your favourite Scotland-England game?
The only one I can think of was the one down at Wembley when we won 1-0 in the second leg of the playoff.
Hutchison.
Don Hutchison.
Yeah.
We absolutely battered England that night. After losing the first game at Hampden 2-0, I think.
Yeah.
That's the only time I can remember us actually beating England.
Yeah.
No, I remember.
Did you play in the Royce Cup? You wouldn't have played in the Royce Cup in 85.
I was on the bench.
You were on the bench. That's the last one I remember.
One.
Yeah.
No, I remember when I was young. I don't know what age I would be. Some of the older guys will remember. Because I remember just playing in the park, and it was Scotland 4, England 3 at Hampden. I think Jimmy Johnson scored and Dennis Law scored, and that's when we were really high about beating England, because England were obviously the bee's knees. So
was that 60s then?
It would have been.
Yeah, it would have been
4-3. It was at Hard. I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember Dennis Law scoring, and I think Jinky scored.
The one thing I get from a number of people, probably the greatest ever Scotland game, I mean there's been a few, but one that sticks in everybody's head was 1967 when they defeated England 3-2. I think a couple of players that I interviewed who played in that game said they were absolutely raging with Jim Baxter, because as you know, Cammy, he played keepy-uppy, which people all remember, but because I think guys like Dennis Law, they didn't want just to beat England, they wanted to humiliate them. They didn't want 3-2, they wanted, let's steam in there and get as many goals as we can.
Yeah, again, that's what you get these guys with that mentality that you want absolutely batter England, because it's such a fierce rivalry, but you get these flair players that just want the ball and to do keepy-uppies and do their own thing, but ultimately it's all about beating them, and it was obviously a special moment in that at that time.
World champions.
Yeah. What's your take on what Kerry was interviewing Ian Maxwell on there? The interpretation of VAR. The referees are looking at handballs. They're looking at red cards. There was a chat today. In fact, Cammy, you were out at the VAR update. I was hoping to go to it, but there are just too many things on. What was the main crux of having a second meeting? I was at the first one.
Yeah, again, they went over some incidents. Listen, it is still subjective. There was certain incidents that they went over today that, again, we looked at the incident of Tony Watt where he got sent off and it rescinded, and they tried to break it down and explain why they came to that decision. So for me, I still think that the handball one's the one that they looked at, and it's whether your arms in an unnatural position, obviously swinging away, depends on the distance from your body as well. And I still think there's a lot of work to be done in it. I do think it is helping the game. I think the offside decisions are really good for us because they're black and white for me, that we get them right now. But the handball one is still the one that I think is still a very subjective.
Yeah, and it's the one that's annoying the life out of you, Robbie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's and if you're a manager at the side and you're getting these decisions against you, and you saw Ange at the Tynecastle, you just couldn't believe it, you know, that because it did hit his hand and he wasn't that far away and his hand was in an unnatural position. But I think they're doing it quite well at the World Cup. I think VAR is working really, really good. You know, I can't remember any that I've said, oh, how did you come to that decision? You know, they're handling the handball one, but I think that the reason that there's not so many handballs because all these players now have their hands behind their back.
Yeah,
they don't have their hands in an unnatural position. No, they're always coming out, you know, with their hands down by their side.
But then, what did you make of the one that Bruno Fernandes?
I thought that was a penalty.
The one.
So, but then what they're saying today was that shouldn't have been a penalty because of he was using that arm to land. So he was using that arm to land, and let his body hit the ground, and the ball just then hit his hand. So part of the rules that shouldn't have actually been a penalty.
What's your thoughts on maybe having a player as part of the VAR team?
Absolutely, I think that's what's needed. I think to try and educate a player or ex-players into the team, I think would be really helpful. I don't know what type of role they could play, but I definitely think having ex-players involved in it would bring it on so much faster and give referees an understanding of what players see on the pitch and what they've experienced through their playing career. And also, on the flip side of that, it would give players an understanding of what referees see. But communication for me is key. Communication between referees, clubs, players, media. See if we just talk about it and explain our decisions, I think people then understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, now because of VAR, I see the value in the referee at the end of the game coming out and saying, this is why I came to this decision. Yep. I made this call, but the VAR instructed me to look at it, to analyse this side of it, and then I came to this decision, and here's why I made it.
That would be great. That would be great for us. That would be great because, you know, that's what all supporters want to know. You know, because you go away for a game as a fan, you think you were robbed there, that was never a penalty, and then you maybe go home and the referee explains, well, this is why I gave it, and this is why the VAR, you know, this is why we gave it, this is the rules, blah blah blah, and then you think, well, no, okay. But it's that harbouring of that thing you've been done by a decision.
I'm not too sure players would be allowed on though, because that I can see in Scotland, because we're so narrow-minded, that people would go, wait a minute, you know, how can this guy sit in the VAR panel on this? He used to play for them.
You need to be from Mars. You need to get
somebody really would, wouldn't you?
Get an alien doing nothing to do with Celtic Rangers.
Absolutely. Our VAR official is Heung-min Son, who's retired from football, is now going to be the VAR referee. It's the only way you get away with it, because of the madness. I'm going to mention a few people just on the basis that Scully is saying, great show as always. Scully is in Michigan. Have we had Michigan?
No,
because we've got Vietnam, we've got all over America, we've got Canada, New Zealand, people tuning in and make a point of tuning in to the programme.
Well, I thought Hugh McDonald made a good point yesterday that anybody from America, we should just be keeping hold of their references for the next World Cup. Because it was Texas yesterday.
Yeah, I like that, by the way.
I think we should just keep it a wee note there.
Hugh just sent a message out to someone who was living in Texas saying, you know, there's going to be big games. We're going to need places to stay, and we're not all going to be able to stay in the hotels that got Ruffy for the Champions League.
Family in Canada as well, Toronto.
You have?
Yeah.
That's fantastic news for Ruffy. All guys? Nope. That's good. Okay, let's pay attention to that, Ruffy. Also, Brian, who's got no time for Cammy, he says Cammy's just trying to get a job with the SFA. Well done, Brian. I've only brought him on for the first show and you've absolutely battered him. But yeah, that's the nature of it. Talking of that, I mean, Stephen Robinson was speaking today. He was, again, no time. He thinks the whole the handball thing is a joke. And I think a lot of managers are really frustrated with the handball decision. All across the Scottish Premiership and beyond, undoubtedly. Kerry was out there today. Stephen Robinson quickly wanted to point out that he's so proud of some of the players that he has playing at the World Cup.
The SPFL returns in around 3 weeks' time. I'm here at St Mirren Training Centre today in Paisley, where all but one player has returned to training. The man missing, Keanu Bacchus, the Australian, is still, of course, in Australia, representing his country at the World Cup. The St Mirren boss, Stephen Robinson, said the whole club is immensely proud of him and says the experience that he will gain on the world stage won't only benefit him, but will help the whole squad in general. Stephen Robinson also said with the January transfer window approaching, maybe Keanu Bacchus is someone that he won't want to let go so easily.
Of course, he's, Keanu's in everyone's lips at the moment with playing in the World Cup. As I say, look, I don't want to sell anybody. I want as a manager, you're selfish and you want to keep the strongest squad possible. I believe I put a very good squad together, but look, I'm realistic. I understand, as I say, the financial constraints of the football club, and natural things happen when people don't play. They want to go and get game time, the more experienced players, and it's something I'm honest with the players about, and we'll take it as it comes. If people come in, we have to listen to offers, but there won't be ridiculously low offers. We'll get the right value for players if that's the case, and look to see what we can do if that happens.
It's your worst nightmare if somebody has a good World Cup, all of a sudden everybody thinks, well, Scotland will cherry pick them.
Yeah, it is. There's quite a lot of SPFL players. I thought Australia, have just won to go through into the next round. So there's people, and it's a huge shot window for players in the World Cup. So he'd be hoping that he has a decent World Cup, but not too good, and I might lose him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the key. I mean, is the January window in your mind, Cammy, as important for teams now at the bottom end or the top end because of the nature of the league that we're in?
A bit of both, to be honest. I think the top end, obviously we've touched on, Rangers need to invest, need to try and apply pressure to Celtic towards the end of the season. That's only going to come by investing in good players and make sure they hit the ground running. But albeit the guys at the bottom of the league, they'll be looking probably over their shoulders and seeing chairmen will be seeing how much finance they can spend, because they know the hit that they would take if they dropped into the Championship. So it's important for both. Recruitment's key in January because it can really kick you on and make sure you've got that little injection of sort of quality into your squad when you've got that opportunity towards the end of the season. Because listen, the season's won and lost in the last sort of 3 months of the year. So yeah, so it's going to be really important. Yeah,
and your old mucker, Lee Griffiths, looks like he might get a wee shout at Morton. I thought somebody, no disrespect to Morton, I thought somebody at the bottom end of the Premier League might have taken a wee snip at him.
I don't know. I think Championship, I think if he goes there and does well, then he can obviously, he's still young enough to get back into the Premier League. But yeah, Morton are doing really well this season. They've got a young manager, Doug Emery, hard-working team, and they're probably just looking for a wee bit of extra quality at the top end of the park. There's every chance for Morton this season. You maybe get in the playoffs or even win that league. So I think he'd be a good signing. If obviously financially it works out for all parties, then I think you'd see a hungry Lee Griffiths. I think he's obviously been out of the game for a wee while now. He's looking for a club. He's training with Livingston. I think you'll see a boy coming back hungry to do well and get his career back on track. Yeah, okay, just before we give you the answer to the quiz, here's your last chance today, because you can just join at any stage, on any day, all the way through the World Cup, our Fandex World Cup competition.
Come and join PLZ Soccer on Fandex for our FIFA World Cup 2022 stock exchange game. It's absolutely free to play and you have the chance to win cash prizes. You can buy shares in your favourite team and watch their stock price increase or decrease based on their real-life World Cup performances against the expected points tally set by Fandex. You can buy and sell as many teams as you like, as often as you like, with winners being announced after every round. The PLZ Soccer family are waiting for you on Fandex. Head to plzsoccer.com and click on Fandex World Cup 2022.
Okay, thanks to Adam for that. How many goals has Messi scored in 167 games for Argentina? The answer was, what did you say, Ruffy?
124 something.
124, would you go, Cammy?
97.
97, 90, 93. It's always good to get an outsider coming in.
93 and 167, that's pretty poor.
Yeah, do you think so? For him? Yeah, for him. I cannot wait to see the final stats when Messi and Ronaldo hang up their boots, Cammy. It'll be unbelievable.
Phenomenal careers, phenomenal players, up there with the best ever. Obviously we look at Pele and stuff like that, but them two guys have been so consistent for so long, and what they've brought to the game, and just watching them, it's mesmerising sometimes what they can do with the football. And Ronaldo's got, obviously he's had huge controversy about him within the last month, but he's still doing it at the World Cup. He's still working hard, and you can see how much it means to him that he wants to try and get Portugal progressing through the tournament.
Yeah. Which camp are you in then? Are you a Messi or a Ronaldo?
I'm a Ronaldo fan, and listen, I still am actually. After all his interview and stuff, I didn't agree with everything that he said and done, but I still think he's a phenomenal talent, and just his mentality, I think, is incredible. Yeah,
and we can't let you go without your choice. Who are you going for to win the World Cup?
I'm going to go France. I think France will win it.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Ruffy, we've got Brazil. What you got?
I jumped to France. I deserted Argentina.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't fancy my Argentina bet. I fancy Brazil. I think they look the best team.
Oh, is that right?
I think with the 5 subs as well, the players they're bringing on, they've got the strongest squad in depth as well. Okay,
it's a team of people jumping about. I'm almost certain it won't be the last time you'll be in the studio, Cammy. It's always good to chat and get your expertise on your playing career and, of course, your opinion on up-to-date matters. I hope you enjoyed our special guest today, Cammy Bell. We'll have him back in the future just to keep Ruffy right. It's always good to get 2 goalkeepers, one with his best days behind him and one who's just finished. You can join us on the programme. There's the quietest he's ever been when we've thrown questions at him, isn't it? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
By the way, do you know that
he's a bit sullen today.
See, before we go, he's so quiet, and there's only one group of people have had a go at him, and you get people absolutely battering you every day.
Oh, exactly. I get slaughtered, and you've just one little misquote.
Yeah.
A little joke you've made, and now you're through the tummy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the troops are not happy with him, and suddenly you could be right. The painting could be coming down off the Partick Thistle wall. Still, he's in the Hall of Fame at 2 or 3 others, so it doesn't matter. Thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Cammy, and to Tam. Hit the subscribe button if you can, and we'll see you tomorrow with Tam Cowan and Hugh McDonald. Join me on the show.